The steam from my coffee danced in the morning light, a quiet ballet in an otherwise ordinary kitchen. Outside, the world was waking up, a symphony of chirping birds and the distant hum of traffic. It was a Tuesday, indistinguishable from any other. I was thinking about a meeting at 10, about what to make for dinner, about the dry cleaning I needed to pick up, the little, insignificant threads that weave the fabric of a normal day. My phone buzzed on the counter, a jarring note in the peaceful melody. I glanced at the screen. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. We all do, right? A telemarketer, a wrong number. But something, a flicker of intuition, maybe just boredom, made me swipe to answer. "Hello?" I said, my voice casual, still half lost in my thoughts about dinner. Silence. Not a deadline, but a heavy, breathing silence. I could hear a faint, static-filled space like someone was standing in a windy field miles away. "Hello?" I repeated, a little louder this time, a sliver of annoyance creeping in. I was about to hang up, chalking it up to a pocket dial from another dimension, when a voice finally broke through. It was raspy, choked, a sound torn from a place of deep pain. Is this Alex?" The voice was unfamiliar, yet it carried a weight that made the hairs on my arms stand up. "Yes. Who is this?" I asked, my own voice now laced with a caution I didn't understand. The coffee cup felt heavy in my hand. There was another pause, filled with what sounded like a shuddering breath. "My name is Detective Miller. I'm calling from... There's been an accident." The word hung in the air. Accident. It's a clinical, sterile word, but in that moment it felt like a physical blow. The kitchen, once warm and familiar, suddenly felt cold and alien. The chirping birds outside sounded shrill, mocking. My mind started racing, flipping through a Rolodex of horrors. My parents on their road trip. My sister who cycles to work. Who? The question screamed in my head, but I couldn't get it past my lips. An accident involving Jamie. Jamie. The name dropped into the silence of my kitchen like a stone into a still pond, the ripples spreading out, distorting everything. My Jamie? My partner of 10 years? No, it couldn't be. He was at a conference. He'd texted me an hour ago, a picture of a terrible hotel breakfast with a laughing emoji. He was fine. He had to be. "No," I whispered, the word barely audible. "You're mistaken. He's out of town. He's fine." My voice was shaking, betraying the desperate certainty I was trying to project. "Sir," the detective's voice was gentle now, but firm. "There was a pileup on the interstate. We need you to come down to St. Mary's Hospital." St. Mary's? That's a 20-minute drive away. Not across the country where the conference was. The pieces weren't fitting. My reality was fracturing, the logic I relied on dissolving into thin air. "But he's not here," I insisted, my voice rising with panic. "He's supposed to be in Chicago. He flew out yesterday." A heavy sigh on the other end of the line. "Sir, Alex, I think you need to sit down. We found his car at the scene, his wallet. He never got on the plane." The phone slipped from my fingers, clattering onto the granite countertop. The detective's voice became a tiny, distant squawk. "He never got on the plane." The words echoed in the sudden, cavernous silence of my mind. The picture of the hotel breakfast. The laughing emoji. A lie. A simple, silly lie that had suddenly become the cornerstone of a world-shattering mystery. Why? Why would he lie? My hands were trembling so badly I could barely pick the phone back up. "I'm on my way," I managed to say, the words feeling foreign in my own mouth. The line went dead. I stood there, motionless, the steam from my coffee long gone. The ordinary Tuesday was over. In the space of a single phone call, the life I knew had been dismantled, replaced by a terrifying landscape of questions and fear. Who was the man I loved? And where was he really going? The drive to the hospital was a blur. Every red light was an agony. Every green light a terrifying lurch forward into a future I didn't want to face. My mind was a maelstrom. The lies. Why? Was he in trouble? Was he leaving me? The conference was the perfect cover. The thought was a sharp physical pain, worse than the fear of the accident itself. The betrayal felt like a deeper wound. At the hospital, the smell of antiseptic and quiet suffering was suffocating. I found Detective Miller, a tired-looking man with kind eyes that held too much sorrow. He didn't lead me to an emergency room. He led me to a small, quiet waiting area, and my heart sank. This is where they take you when there's no hope. He's in surgery, Miller said, his voice low. It's critical. But there's something else you need to know. He wasn't alone in the car. Another blow. I felt the air leave my lungs. Who? Who was with him? I asked, my voice a hollow echo of itself. We identified her from her ID. Her name is Sarah. He paused, looking at me with an expression of profound pity. She was his colleague, but her emergency contact information. Alex, it listed you as her husband. The world tilted on its axis. Husband? Another lie. A whole other life. The ordinary man who made me coffee, who complained about his commute, who texted me silly pictures. He didn't exist. He was a character, a role he played, and I had been his unsuspecting audience. The detective was still talking, explaining something about bank statements, a leased apartment in a different city, a life built on a foundation of deceit. But I could barely hear him. I was no longer just the partner of a man in a car crash. I was a stranger, a footnote in a story I thought was mine. The man I loved, the man I was rushing to the hospital to pray for, was a phantom. The phone call hadn't just turned my life upside down. It had revealed that the life I thought I was living was never real to begin with. It was an elaborate stage, and the curtain had just been violently ripped away. Hours later, a doctor came out, his face grim. The news was what I had been dreading. Jamie, or whatever his name was, he didn't make it. Sarah, the other woman, was in a coma. In that moment, I felt a strange and terrible void. Not just grief, but a profound and dizzying sense of loss for a life that was a lie. I was mourning a ghost. Walking out of the hospital, the night air was cold. My phone buzzed in my pocket. For a terrifying second, I thought it was him. But it was just a notification, a memory from a year ago. A picture of me and Jamie smiling on a beach, the caption reading 10 perfect years. The irony was a bitter pill. One phone call. That's all it took. It didn't just bring bad news. It erased my entire history, my present, my future. I stood under a flickering street lamp, a stranger in my own story, wondering how you rebuild a life from the rubble of a beautiful, devastating lie. The journey ahead was terrifying, but it had to begin. And it began with deleting a single photo. Thank you so much for watching this story unfold. If you've ever had a moment that changed everything, share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories that make you think. Stay safe and be kind to each other.